Today's story took place in the summer of 1997. I had just graduated from high school and I was spending my summer getting stoned and playing a lot of old school Nintendo. I believe that summer it was Dragon Warrior and Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. One day, we had grown a marijuana plant, and it had gotten so large that we put it out in our pool, which had been drained of all the water. We weren't using it. So it was empty, and it started growing very large. We put it out in like a big planter, and it was sitting in the center of the pool, and it had started getting so tall that the railings that were around it, it was starting to show over the top of those. We started getting a little paranoid. We didn't want to get busted, because we were teenagers and stupid and had a big pot plant out there. Thing was, it was also I believe a male plant, so there were no buds growing on this plant, which, you know, we didn't know much about weed except that it got you stoned, and this particular plant obviously didn't have the right component to really get you stoned. So we ended up hearing about how you could make hash out of the leaves of the plant. I'm not sure how true the story is that we were told. I don't know if you could do that from males or females. I'm still not very educated on that, but at the time we were convinced we could do it. And now, mind you, I was sort of a bystander in this situation. My brother at the time and my friend, who I won't use his name, but we'll just call him Ro. He and my brother were the ones really championing this thing, and they were told that if you cook the leaves in rubbing alcohol on the stove, that eventually you could get the goop from it and then make it into hash and get stoned and whatever. And so all of us kind of thought that that was a good idea, because, you know, obviously we weren't getting any buds from this plant. So one day, after playing some Nintendo, and Ro and my brother were making this hash, supposedly. Our another buddy at the time, I'll call him Dick, stopped by, who had been working at the car wash at the airport in town. So he got to drive around, you know, these awesome cars and stuff like that. And I don't remember which particular car it was this day, but it was a sweet one, and he was going to give us all a ride in it and stuff like that, which, you know, maybe he wasn't supposed to do, but, you know, who cares? We were teenagers, and that's what you did. So he came over, and we're looking out the window. Oh, that's really cool, you know. And chaos ensued. The rubbing alcohol, of course, on the lit stovetop started bubbling over, and lo and behold, it caught fire. So this pan, or this pot, in both ways, was on fire, and Ro grabbed the pot and instantly thinks, I've got to run and throw this outside. It's on fire. We can't catch the house on fire. biggest issue being that when he ran for the slider door that we had that would lead us to the outside, it was dropping little globs of fire along the floor as he ran through the kitchen. And the slider door was glass and it was see-through. I don't know what he thought, but in his panic he must have thought that it was open. So Ro slams into the window, the door, and it spills all over the floor, up the wall, on his arm, catches fire. So there's now a fire in our house, a fire on our friend's arm, and no stopping it. It was happening. And we're freaking out, and Dick's like, whoa, I'm glad that I came here for lunch. And my brother's freaking out, screaming, and we're like grabbing a blanket and we're slamming it down on it, and it's not really working, and we're taking water and we're throwing it at it, and eventually we get it out. Left some nice burn marks along the wall, and nothing too terrible, thank God. The floor too, I mean, there was definitely some char marks and stuff, but somehow we had miraculously worked quick enough to where it wasn't, it was noticeable, but we did some cutting of the carpet a little bit, and you know, wiping the wall down as best we could, but Ro's arm was fucked. It was just bubbling up and going crazy, and we were freaking out, and Dick had to leave, so we were stuck there with you know, no cool ride in the car, and a friend whose arm had just been burnt pretty badly. He ended up getting it, you know, taken care of and stuff, and we made up this elaborate story of cooking macaroni and cheese on the stove, and we caught a plastic bag on fire, and as we tried to move it, it was, you know, shooting little globlets of hot burning plastic everywhere, and it got on his arm, and somehow his mom believed this story. And my mom came home from work later in the day, and she didn't really notice it. It was, you know, eventually she had asked about it and stuff, and I couldn't believe she didn't notice it. You know, my mom was one that would sometimes partake in the smoking festivities and stuff like that, but we still weren't comfortable enough to the point where it was you know, where we could say, hey, we caught the house on fire trying to make hash on the stove. The worst, what would have been a lot worse is, it sucks that my buddy's arm got really burnt up, and that we caught part of the house on fire and stuff like that. But the worst part would have been, had that door been open and he ran out there and threw it down, there was a gargantuan pile of dry leaves on the ground below our deck off the porch, where he was going to throw that burning hot mess down into, which would have then ignited all those leaves, and then, you know, our entire house most likely would have been caught on fire. So luckily, but unluckily, that did not happen. But it was a very interesting summer. So stay tuned for another story. Bye.